Young guitarist Miguel has a dream to be a musician, a dream that his family will not support under any circumstances because they believe music cursed their family generations earlier. Miguel accidentally wanders into the spirit world on Dia de los Muertos, and before he can find his way back to the land of the living, he must earn the blessing of a family member. But instead, he uncovers a family secret so earth shattering it changes everything in the 2017 animated masterpiece, Coco. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre,
I'm Jeremy Johnson.
and this is Filmgazm. Welcome to the Filmgazm podcast. We're continuing our top 10s of the 2010 series with my number 7, Pixar's Coco, a gorgeously animated and brilliantly written story of a Mexican family learning to embrace music and therefore each other once again. I'm joined today by Austin and Adam's brother, Jeremy, who's going to help me dissect this amazing movie. So I know you really wanted to be on this one when we announced what we were doing here. And I'm curious, what is it about Coco that you love so much?
I don't really know. I mean, I think I was asking myself. I haven't seen it since my initial watch, which was probably not theaters. So it's 20. I'm not sure when this was released in 2017, but it was 2017, 2018, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started the movie, I was kind of like, why did I love this movie so much? And there's the standout scenes and the bright colors and everything, but I think that something that resonates with me is just that at its core, I think this is a story about family, but it's also a story about a musician and his passion for music and how that's being stifled. I've never had that in my life as a musician. Had someone actively working against me or discouraging music in me, but I think it's just cool to watch a narrative about a musician. For me, just doing that and oh yeah, I get why you feel that way, or just the little jokes that the character Hector makes about how much he hates musicians or they're unreliable and they're all self-important. There's a lot of little jokes about music in this movie, so I think it just resonates with me. It makes it a little more fun. I think if I wasn't a musician, I think this movie would still rule. And I think what really gets me is this core narrative of family. I think family is very important to me. So I think in tandem, it's those two things. And it's not bad to look at. I mean, it's a beautiful fucking movie.
Yeah, it really is. You can tell they were working overtime on this one. I mean, the details, it's incredible. This movie ended up on my list because it was to my recollection, the fastest I gave a movie a 10 that I can remember. I was immediately just like, holy shit, I fell in love with this thing so fast. That was watching this for the first time was the hardest I've ever cried at a movie. And every time I watched it since, I get hit as hard. Watching it today, I was in tears just 20 minutes ago, just typing up the script.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's one of the most heartfelt, beautiful movies I've ever seen. And I mean, there's an argument for it being Pixar's masterpiece. I mean, just in terms of animation and story, it has it all. It's engaging, it's relatable, it teaches you about Mexican heritage and culture, particularly in regards to Dia de los Muertos, and it does great wonders for representation, which we're going to get into in the development in a bit here. I got to mention this in my thesis, which was about Hispanic representation in film, and I got to use this as a centerpiece of proper and well done representation that doesn't it has some stereotypes, but it doesn't. It's not harming anybody. It's embracing the positives about this culture, and that's just beautiful. So I just adore this movie.
Yeah, so I was curious about that. If whenever there's a film about a certain group of people. uh I always wonder, how does this group of, I mean, obviously this movie's about Mexicans, it's about Mexico, like it's about Mexican heritage and culture, and that it's woven into its DNA, so much a part of it. How do Mexican people feel about this film? So I don't know. Do you like? I don't know. I guess I didn't really know how to learn about that. I guess you can just Google, like that sentence exactly. But was this well received? I mean, you're saying that it is like a, representation done right as part of your thesis. So I guess that answers my question. But yeah, that's always something that I think right away. It's like, are they doing a disservice, or is it a send up? Is a sincere homage? But it's a, looked at the a lot of the crew that was just the credited. I mean, the top people. I mean, so the screenwriter is of Mexican descent, right?
One of them is written by two people, and one of them is of Mexican descent.
Okay, that's
Um,
Molina, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. There's no real way to quantify that because everyone's going to take a film differently. Everyone I talked to about this film for my thesis who was of Mexican descent, they did like it a lot. They thought it was a very good representation. But one of my professors, who was one of my advisors on this, he's of I'm he's Spain. He's from Spain, and he thought this movie was incredibly like offensive in regards to stereotypes. So it's really all about the individual and what you take away from it. Because I'm of Hispanic descent myself, and
Right.
I thought it was fine compared to films like Touch of Evil or Zoot Suits, Stand and Deliver. Like I've seen worse. I've seen worse representations of Hispanics in film before, for sure. No one's in brown face in this movie. The cast is all Latino.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I think big big companies like Pixar and Disney to an extent like, all right, let's at least cast this movie. And but I mean, there was another one recently. It was not Pixar. What was it? Raya and the Last Dragon, right? Like
Yeah.
that caught some flack. It had an all Asian cast, but none of them were like Southeast Asian. Like, so people are gonna, they're just like less accepting to something that's gonna feel less authentic. And I mean, at least everyone in the film is of like Hispanic descent, right?
Yeah.
All the cast, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that that's something in and of itself, but I don't know.
It's
Yeah, I mean, I as someone who's not of that heritage, like it never, nothing ever seemed offensive to me. But I'm not the one to decide uh, what's offensive and what's not. But
Yeah. And I'm not the one to declare like no Mexicans found this offensive. Like I have no basis to make that claim at all. It's
yeah,
all
yeah,
about just individual, taste and what you find offensive and what you don't find offensive and what you're looking for in representation. And if you find it in Coco, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you were able to find something there. But if you don't, keep looking. It is out there.
right on.
Um, so going into Pixar, my question to you is fairly basic, but one I did want to ask anyway. What is your favorite or multiple favorite Pixar movies?
Yeah, single favorite is hard. This is
Yeah.
one of them. I think this is like one of the best. I think this is the best Pixar movie since like The Incredibles. For me, maybe not the most well made or whatever, or like the best film, but like it's my favorite since The Incredibles. It's my favorite of the like I love that first crop of Pixar movies. I'm talking about like Toy Story. I love A Bug's Life. Uh, I think if I have to pick one, when I was younger, I used to always say Monster. All right, for a while it was A Bug's Life, then it was Monsters Inc. Now it's Finding Nemo. I think is if I have to pick one, like, and maybe that's like maybe there's something in that that's like as I age, like different things mean different things to me. I mean, of course, your values change or how you understand life or stories change.
Yeah.
But like, I think one of the things though is that I still love all those movies thoroughly. Those movies that I loved when I was a kid. And I think like with some of the newer ones, like, oh, am I just too old and jaded? Like that these don't affect me the same way. And Coco is the one that obliterates that idea. Like, no, I'm not too old and jaded. Like they just weren't as good to me because this movie fucking rules. I'd put this. This is like in the top five. Yeah, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc. I love Toy Story 2. I actually think that's my favorite Toy Story. I love the story of like Woody and Jesse and yeah, Finding Nemo, Coco, Monsters Inc., Bugs Life. Yeah, so I'm
Yeah,
going. What about you? Where are you at?
all good selections. I like pretty much all of Pixar's movies except for two. I'm not a fan of Brave, and I'm not a fan of The Good Dinosaur. Uh,
I never saw the dinosaur one.
it was awful. And then I have not seen Elemental yet, but judging by the outcry, I am in no hurry to watch that.
I think
Uh,
that movie looks like dog shit. It's looks like some phoned in horse shit. But I don't. From what the complaints I've heard about it, that's not why I thought it would be bad. I just thought it was a dumb concept. Like, what if
which
a
is so
fire and a
obvious.
water fell in love? Like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, who gives a shit? I don't know.
I Austin told me that he read a review that described it as like Pixar's Jungle Fever,
Oh
which
God!
yeah, that was my reaction. Like, whoa.
Whoa, whoa, Pixar
Yeah.
or
Um,
reviewer. Let's all calm
I
down.
I also like loved A Bug's Life growing up, and now when I watch it, I just love that it's a movie about like the workers seizing the means of production.
Yeah,
It's a union movie.
yeah, I love that. It's you who need us. That fucking scene at the end, and they all like link arms. Like,
Yeah.
like Hopper is also the first like, um, honest to God like Pixar villain that like, not the first, but like the one that when I think of Pixar villains, I'm like Hopper. Like he's just fucking evil, and like that's it. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing else to him. Like
He's for sure, yeah, he's up there. I always immediately think of Syndrome from The Incredibles. He's just such an evil son of a bitch. And the blood on his hands is like he's killed so many superheroes just because Mr. Incredible, dissed him when he was a kid.
what is Jason Lee, right?
Yeah.
In his finest role. Jason Lee. I don't think of Syndrome right away. Incredibles. I do love Incredibles. Like I loved Incredibles 2 also. Uh, I think there's something about Coco that I wanted to bring up. Um, that like I tend not to like the Pixar movies that are about humans. Um, and I was like, yeah, this is Coco's the only one about humans that I like. But then I'm like, oh, I know Incredibles is about humans. Like, I think Incredibles, like, I don't think about it sometimes when I think about Pixar movies, like, because that was the first one that was about humans, right? Like, they broke that thing where it's like, well, I know like Andy's in Toy Story, but like, it's not about Andy. Like, the first one's toys, and then it's bugs,
But
then
then
it's
it's monsters,
monsters, then it's
fish,
fish, and then it's
and people.
well,
Yeah.
superheroes, I guess, but they're people, they're humanoids.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It is interesting. Hmm, one I watched recently, or well, not like in the past year or so, I rewatched Wally for the first time in years, and I really enjoyed it. I was surprised at how well Wally has aged.
yeah, that's my girlfriend's favorite Pixar movie, and I never really it never really resonated with me. But yeah, it's been a long time. I'm not sure if I've ever like really watched it as an adult. I've I've been wanting to like watch all of them in order. Watch the couple that I've never seen. I've never seen any of the Cars movies. I've never, and then Good Dinosaur. I think those are the only ones I've maybe never seen. Lightyear. I didn't see Lightyear. Uh, didn't
Lightyear
just didn't
wasn't
really.
bad.
I didn't really. It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. It was billed like it's introduced as the movie that Andy went to see in Toy Story, where he was like, "Oh, I love Buzz Lightyear." So it's like
Right on.
this is
Yeah.
that movie, which was kind of a neat idea.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, it's sad that like as I did not pay attention to anything about it. The only thing that I really have heard about it at all is that there's a gay couple in a shot, like, and
Yeah.
the argument surrounding that it shouldn't be there. Some people say it shouldn't be there, and people defending that it should be there. Like, it's just like, good God, like, really, like, that's like, and that's all just being away from, like, I've never Googled is Lightyear good or Lightyear reviews or whatever. It's just like, that's all I know about it.
Yeah.
Which is a fucking shame. But
That's why I watch everything, because like I don't give a shit about weird hangups people are going to have about some movies or controversy. I just want to see the film. I just want to judge the movie on its own merits, independent of other people's feelings or thoughts or critics. I just want to see, like, what do I think? And
well, I mean, so that, I mean, yeah, that's valid. I think you should always do that. But like, when you're talking about something like, oh, the film was controversial because of the way this was depicted or something, but this is just like a fucking shot of like gay people existing, like,
yeah,
it's just fucking dumb. Like,
it was so stupid.
Why
And
do
I
we
think
still give a shit?
I'm worried. Like, I think that's what tanked the movie. Like, because Lightyear was like the first Pixar bomb since before COVID, and I think that's what did it. I hope that's not what did it, but I feel like that's what did it, because it should have been a surefire hit.
Yeah, there's a lot of hateful people out there, man.
There are. Elemental, I feel like, is failing just because it sounds like it's fucking stupid.
Sucks. Yeah. Well, so have these other Pixar movies? Lightyear was the last one, right? That came
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Lightyear's the last one.
And then, I mean, well, I didn't care to see Lightyear because it just didn't really look interesting. There's a whole TV series about Buzz Lightyear being a real space ranger, and that show like ruled when I was a kid. I'm not sure if it holds up. I haven't seen it in a long time. Was it Buzz Lightyear, Star Command, Space Ranger? I can't remember what it's called.
That's one of the few Disney properties that's not on Disney Plus.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, like it's gone.
Can't watch it. Then,
yeah. I remember that I had the pilot, the extended pilot on tape when I was a kid, and I thought that was awesome.
It's great, and it's like it plays around like it's like there's like alien characters in it, and like it's like a planet hopping kind of adventure where they're just basically like space cops. I want that as a Pixar movie. I don't want like it's kind of like a movie about astronauts is what it seems like. Like like it's Apollo 13 or whatever the hell that movie is. I don't know. What's the famous one? I don't know. The spaceship one. It's more like that kind of movie, or like fucking Armageddon or whatever, man. I don't know. Like, just like words. I don't know. I don't like movies like that. That's why I don't. That's why I didn't want to see Lightyear.
I think their most underrated film to date is Onward, which
I don't like Onward.
Why not? I loved Onward.
I think we've actually already talked about this, or maybe
we argued about this before.
Maybe I've argued with Austin about it. It just missed me completely. Coco is a story of family, right? Finding Nemo is a story of family. What else we got?
Turning Red.
Are there more?
There was
Turning Red. Yeah, I like Turning Red.
I enjoyed that. I thought it was.
I watched Turning Red with my niece. With my niece Willow. So I think that elevated it for me a little bit. How much just watching her enjoy it.
Yeah.
But Onward is a story of family too, but it just something didn't connect. I don't know, and I didn't really like the It's like if Coco did for its subject matter, the Land of the Dead and Mexican music, if it took its subject matter and really did something cool with it, I think Onward did not, is what I would say. It's kind of D&D, slash just fantasy culture, or that kind of shit. I feel like it kind of missed on that, but maybe that's because I know about that stuff more.
See,
just I don't remember the kid. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I liked. I've never been a D&D guy, or like, I like Lord of the Rings and I like some like fantasy movies, but I've never really immersed myself in like the whole LARPing shit and all that. So I wasn't that in tune on that part of the movie. But I'm a sucker for kids reconnecting with like lost fathers stories. And that part really got to me. So I really enjoyed it because of that.
Yeah, and that's kind of the familial aspect that I guess I just that didn't resonate with me or just doesn't make as much sense to me. I didn't really like the gimmick of he's just like pants the whole movie. Like it just kind of seemed like a bunch
Fair
of
enough.
ideas that they just kind of threw at the wall. We're like, all right, so these two guys, what are they like elves or something?
Yeah.
Um, I'll yeah. It also the voice actors really like didn't seem to have that like chemistry. Uh, uh yeah, I don't know. The the set pieces weren't there for me. I don't know. It's a lot of things I didn't like about that
Okay.
movie, but
All right. What did you think of Soul?
I like Soul. I think Soul like didn't handle certain aspects well. Soul's also a story of a musician, but like I think like even though like the story of this guy like this jazz musician, the big thing is like he wants to get to the jazz gig, like he wants to play with this famous jazz musician, he wants to be somebody like, like he's just unfulfilled in his life. Like it doesn't like it's focusing like on a really dismal aspect of being a musician and feeling unfulfilled, right?
Yeah.
And that's a real thing. It's similar to Coco in that it's dealing with like musicianship and also death, um, the afterlife. I think you can kind of compare them side by side, even though like the main character in Coco is, I don't know what 10-year-old Miguel. How old do you think he is? Do they ever tell us how old he is?
I think they say 12 at one point.
12, 10, 10 to 14 range. 12,
Yeah.
we'll go with 12. Um, a 12-year-old boy living in what like 2010s Mexico. I'm not really sure. I actually looked up when this takes place, and they said that Miguel was born in like 2005. Like somebody
Okay.
figured out some timeline, but it actually seems a lot earlier than that, right?
Well, I mean, it could be just a rural part of the country that, isn't doesn't have, HD TVs or whatever.
Yeah, I think even in parts of like I think nowadays if you were in a town or a village like that, like you would still see at least the small pockets of like modern technology. I mean, even more like if you were in a town like that in Mexico in '05 versus 2023, the amount of technology available in that part of the world would be vastly different, I think.
Well, he's
But
rocking like a small TV and a VCR and a record player. So
yeah.
it's got to be at least in like the 90s.
So they said that Ernesto de la Cruz dies in 42. He gets crushed by that bell, right? And
Mhm.
he's the great great, or no, he's not the great great. Well, I don't know.
But yeah, he's supposed to
He's
be. They
he's
think
the
he's the
same
great.
age. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess it's not that important, right? I don't even remember why we started talking about this now. Um, but that Coco is the story of Miguel, this aspiring musician who's at the beginning of his life as a musician, like, and Soul is kind of this musician who's at the end of his life who feels unfulfilled, and it's the story of Soul's like the story of the musician realizing like, oh, I can just be a teacher and like I can like still feel fulfilled and like make people happy and shit like that. That's the big payoff in Soul. That story is included in Coco with Hector, and they also have Miguel's story of like. So I think there's just so much more in Coco because Soul is really concerned with this like Tina Fey, character, and like, and she like in Soul, she like goes in him and is him, and then he's the cat or something, you know?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
You
I've only
remember
seen
that?
Soul one time. Like a lot of the recent Pixar's, I've only seen one time because they just didn't. They were good, but they weren't. They didn't resonate like
Yeah,
Bug Life and Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo did.
yeah. Soul. Soul is like he gets to go back from the afterlife or something, and at some point he is like stuck inside of a cat, and Tina Fey's like soul character is inside of him, and she's like better at being him than he was, and it's I don't know, like there's some shit like that. The music is fucking great in Soul. Like I think it hits a lot of the boxes that Coco hits. Coco's just like so much more for me at least. I don't know. I Soul yeah, like I said, like Coco is the only like knockout Pixar hit for me. Like like 10 out of 10 since Incredibles. So
Yeah.
nothing else really. It was Soul's after Coco, right?
I'm sorry.
Soul came out after Coco, right?
Yeah, Soul was
Oh,
late
okay.
2020.
I was thinking it was before for some reason.
Now, Soul was in that like right when Disney Plus was being wheeled out, and it was an exclusive along with Luca, which is also not really stuck with me.
Yeah. So Luca is pretty weak for
It
the
was The
most
Little
part.
Mermaid. It was the same. It was The Little Mermaid.
Well, it was
Uh,
also that Japanese animated movie, Children of the Sea. Have you ever heard of that movie?
I have heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
just look up the plot to that movie and then just like look at some pictures. That's all. It's Luca. Like it's
Well,
the same fucking shit.
Pixar has done that a couple times. There's a lot of people who say that Coco is just a ripoff of the Book of Life.
Oh, I've never seen the Book of Life.
It's
Well, I need to watch that now so I can hate Coco, I guess.
about a young musician who, a Mexican guitarist who ends up in the land of the dead and has to find himself. Like it's very similar. I'm surprised there weren't like lawsuits filed.
Wow, that's that's disheartening.
That's that happens. There's always an instance every year where the same script gets split in half and written by two separate people, and you get like an Armageddon and a Deep Impact, or a Olympus Has Fallen and a White House Down. It happens.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
Ants and Bugs Life.
yeah, exactly.
Well, so that was different. That was DreamWorks just like directly trying to just fuck with Disney. Like we're gonna make the same movie as you and release it at the same time. I've never seen Ants though. I've heard Ants is like really good though.
I haven't seen. I. It's Woody Allen and like Sylvester Stallone, like two people who shouldn't be doing voice acting, and I'm not really that
Well, they're
motivated to watch.
just they're just names, you know.
Yeah. Uh, well,
So
I
voice
think.
acting. Go
Hmm?
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say voice acting in this movie and Coco was fucking brilliant. And that also, they all do the singing right in the English voice cast.
Yeah, I believe so.
Fucking hey, didn't know all those people could sing like that. Well, I guess it's just Benjamin Bratt uh and Bernal that I had heard of before, other than like a few the people that do sing.
Well, I love that
Beautiful.
one of the guy who plays one of his like undead uncles was a pioneer of Chicano filmmaking in the 80s, Luis Valdez. He did La Bamba and Zoot Suit. And like just the fact that he's involved, that's so fucking cool. I learned all about this dude when I was doing my thesis research, and I was like, he founded Chicano Theater Company, like back when like Chicano actors and filmmakers and screenwriters were not getting a lot of work. So he helped like really push that whole culture forward in Hollywood, and he gets to have like a full voice part in this. And that's just I love that full circle shit.
Is he like the short uncle?
Yeah,
Is he one of the dead people?
yeah. Like like the short dead uncle
Okay.
with like the hat.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah. So I think the only Pixar we haven't really touched on is Ratatouille and Up.
Uh I just don't really care about either one of those. Uh
Fair enough.
I only ever saw him twice. Again, I think it's like when humans are heavily featured, like I kind of maybe I don't know if I lose interest. I think that Ratatouille is one I have not given it as good like second chance. But Up I've seen it a couple times, and I just like I don't know. the first thing whenever people talk about Up is like, oh, like that sequence in the beginning, like, um, which is a great opening sequence, right? Like, and it's super sad, and Pixar's just making people cry before the credits are even done. But I mean, the rest of the movie with the dogs and the in the like, it's just kind of like, what is this? I don't really like Up. I don't know.
That
It's one of like Pixar's bangers that I just don't really like. I don't know.
that opening sequence is so good, everyone forgot about the rest of the film, which is very forgettable.
Yeah,
Like,
well, we ask people like, do you remember anything else?
yeah.
Like the giant bird and the that really forgettable villain who I don't really get why I can't remember why he's doing whatever the fuck it is he's doing.
It's an old dude and a Boy Scout hunting a colorful ostrich in a goofy looking South American country that I think that's supposed to be like Peru or something. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't really. I love that opening sequence, but the rest of the
yeah,
movie is
it's great.
ridiculous.
It's just that's all anyone ever says. Like I cried within the first minute, and it's like, okay, but what else
Yeah, it's an
did you
hour and a
like
half
about
movie.
it?
Anything else of substance in
Yeah,
there?
there's a lot of other shit going on at the end.
Did
Let's
you see the
see. Go
Did
ahead.
you
Go
see
ahead.
the trailer for their new one, Elio?
Pixar?
Yeah,
A Pixar movie? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
it's about a kid who gets abducted by aliens, and because they think he's the ruler of Earth, and he has to defend Earth's existence, or else they're going to destroy the planet.
All right.
So pretty heavy shit.
I'll watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Pixar, they're definitely more hit than miss. I think lately they've been losing steam. I think they got to pick shit up. I hope this Elio movie is a little better than, what if fire and water mixed? Oh,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
steamy would
Ooh,
that be, if you pardon the pun?
whoa. I'd never even heard of it until I saw like an ad on some streaming, like maybe on like kind of the banner thing when you're on I had like an Amazon TV and the top banners like watch this shit. And then it's just like I was like, what is this? It's like it came out in like a week and I was like, I never even fucking heard of this movie. And it's just like this water guy and this fire person lady who are like, watch this, and they're just like doing stuff and like it's like I don't know. Then I watched like a little feature, like a couple little featurettes of like the voice cast talking about it. And even the voice cast just seemed like like not enthused at all. Was like it was like I was watching like a featurette within a film universe about a movie that like is the subject of like a dark comedy. You know what I mean? Like movie about a struggling voice actor who's just, just dealing with substance abuse, and Elemental is like is going to be his big voice acting comeback. Like it doesn't seem like a real movie that someone would make.
That's fun. It lost me as soon as they told, like, in the trailer said the name of the town that all this takes place in, which is Element City. How creative.
Oh,
Like, oh my God, so many Pixar movies. Like, you look at the origin of them and it's like, my father loved robots and I made Wall-E for him, or like I played with toys when I was a kid and like I love the cowboy, and like there's always a personal story behind them. With Elemental, I feel like they were just like, smoking a cigarette and drinking a glass of water and was like, huh. And then there you go.
what if a fire and a water fell in love? What would happen?
I hope that's
Whoa.
exactly how they pitched it. What
Yeah,
if a fire and a
it is
water fell in love?
it's a stupid fucking concept. And like I mean, I think you could think of ideas like that all day long. Like I mean, it's like Incredibles is kind of like let's do a thing with like the golden age of superheroes, but it's like set in the 50s and like but it's a family, it's a family drama, like it's or a family comedy, dramedy, whatever the fuck.
It's the best Fantastic Four movie we've ever gotten.
Yeah, and they're like, I think the voice cast in that in the Incredibles like is put in overtime. Uh, I can't remember her name. Who's Helen? Who's Elastigirl?
Holly Hunter.
Holly Hunter. Ah, just such a great voice for voice acting. Like we just kind of got that odd tone to it, that kind of nasally tone that just sounds like a fucking real person, and it just like does so much work for that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that's a relatively flimsy concept. Like that's a family of superheroes, like or but I'm sure that had a similar origin to what you're talking about, like that like had a lot of love in it, like at some point. I guess that's something to read about later.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all of Pixar's movies are basically what if blank had feelings, and then you just build from there.
Yeah. Well, I think that works up to a certain point. I remember seeing a thing on the internet that said like each one, it was like, what if toys had feelings? What if monsters had feelings? What if bugs had feelings? Whatever. And then the last one is, what if feelings had feelings? And that's
Inside Out. Great, another great one. That movie's awesome.
I think Inside Out is great. It's just not one of the ones that I think of when I'm like thinking about Pixar movies that I love. But no, I mean that movie rules. I think it does so much work with its concept. The Inside Out really felt like a full circle, kind of like just thinking about that concept. What if blank had feelings? And then it's like, what if feelings had feelings? And it was kind of like, I think if Pixar just quit there, like that'd be the ultimate mic drop.
Yeah, but then we never would have gotten Coco.
We would have never gotten Coco. Yeah, so I'm glad they didn't. But
yeah, speaking of full circle, sweet. Yeah, all right, that was fun. Yeah, I love digging into Pixar's catalog. There's something about them. I don't know what they're doing differently. If it's just like, are they putting more attention into the scripts, into the animation? But their films stand out amongst Disney's catalog just so much stronger for the most part.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, a lot of the Disney animated movies are in the last, I don't know, what's like a standout Disney movie in the last like 15 years?
I know, like in terms of box office, like Frozen was huge, Zootopia was huge, but
I don't mean box office. Yeah, I'm saying I'm asking personally.
Okay. I don't know. Encanto, I guess.
I never saw that one. Like Moana. I think Moana's entertaining.
I didn't see Moana.
Zootopia is good, right?
I didn't see that one either.
I feel like Elemental. Is it Elementals or Elemental?
Elemental.
I feel like Elemental took a lot from Zootopia just from seeing shots of it, like this of the city, and then just like one of the things you do in like animated movies where there's just quick little shots of like, oh look, that's hilarious how those two things would interact, like, oh look, there's a giraffe going into their house and their door is super huge, and then the mouse lives next door and they're going into their, like little things like that. So Elementals is like, oh, look at this guy who has bushes on his back and he gets burned by the fire person. It's like, all right, that's great. But,
I guess the last Disney movie I really like enjoyed was probably The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, music in that was fucking balling, man.
Yeah,
good music.
I like that.
I don't remember liking like the narrative a whole lot, but music was good. Good villain song.
Oh,
good villain song.
Yeah.
Is that Keith David, right?
That was Keith David, yeah.
Fucking Keith David.
Bullshit. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot. Like I've seen all but one of Pixar's movies. There's a shit ton of Disney movies I haven't seen, and I'm not really in it. I've seen like for me the '90s run. Nothing's ever beaten that. Those like that's their best run ever.
All right, so it's '90s run, but where does that end for you? Like, does it end in the 2000s, or does it go a little bit? Is there a little bit of bleed over into the 2000s?
None at all. That shit ends at Tarzan.
It ends at Tarzan. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. Shit starts with the Rescuers Down Under and it ends with Tarzan.
It starts with Little Mermaid. I mean,
oh yeah, okay, all right.
I would say Rescuers. Is not.
I liked that one as a kid. I like George C. Scott as the bad guy. Like that's cool.
You're talking about, you said Down Under, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about Joanna.
Yeah.
That fucking lizard. I love
Percival C.
that.
McLeish.
I love that lizard. No, Rescuers Down Under rules. It just doesn't. It's not on the same level as. I mean, there are other. There's other '80s Disney shit that I like. Um, but yeah, I mean, the quality just jumps up. Like the rewatchability. So, of course, there's like those earlier Disney films. Like, was it the '40s when that started?
30s.
Snow White was the '30s.
Yep. 37.
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there'll be a time and place to get into Disney's whole catalog, but
Yeah, let's not go down.
yeah, we're not going to dissect
that rabbit hole.
Yeah, like 100 years of fucking animated
Yeah.
movies. All right, let's talk production on Coco. I only have a little bit here, and then we'll get into our awards and talk about the film proper. So the concept of Coco first came about in 2010, just as director Lee Unkrich was wrapping production on Toy Story 3. Pixar movies are planned almost a decade in advance. The amount of time it takes to make these things is incredible. The original pitch was about an American child learning about his Mexican heritage while dealing with the death of his mother. And Unkrich decided to refocus the story to be about a Mexican child instead, as he didn't want to do Mexican culture a disservice. He realized that nobody on his initial team was of Mexican heritage, and he felt immense weight on his shoulders to do this right, which I appreciate, because most people in Hollywood would just tell the story regardless of who they're going to offend. But this guy was like, I want to do this the right way. So props to Lee Unkrich for thinking correctly.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, Disney had to go and almost fuck this up. So in 2013, Disney attempted to trademark the phrase Dia de los Muertos so that they could merchandise the shit out of it. They tried to trademark a holiday.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and that's what everybody in the Mexican American community said. Everyone was pissed. Some of them started mocking Disney relentlessly. They started drawing cartoons called Mickey Mouse, but like as a skeleton called Muerto Mouse. And like just mocking them. And a petition got started on change.org that reached 21,000 signatures. And I guess somebody at Disney realized, all right, maybe this is a bad idea. And they backed off a week after the announcement. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a fucking terrible idea.
How could they have thought that was going to go over well? Jesus Christ.
I don't know. Somebody, I always imagine like somebody thinks it's a good idea and it's someone that doesn't listen to anyone else, but they have enough power, so there's probably a ton of people who just know like this is the dumbest fucking idea. I think we like to think of a group of people thinking it's a good idea, but I feel like there's just a bunch of people like, oh God, like they're actually going to do that. Smoking their cigarettes outside the fucking back door. Like, yep, they're going through with that, trying to trademark the fucking holiday.
Yeah, white asshole Roy Disney the Third or whatever the fuck is like, Roy Disney the Third. We're gonna trademark this holiday.
What was the goal? Do you know what the goal was?
Merchandise. They wanted to make money off of the colorful skeleton faces and all that. Like they wanted to own that shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's evil, I think, but it's not a bad idea either. Like,
yeah,
make a lot of money monopolizing. I mean, I'm just saying,
yeah. I remember
if the goal is to make money and just be a fucking asshole about it, it's you're going the right direction, trying to trademark the holiday.
This is the same company that sued a grieving father for putting Spider-Man on his kid's tombstone. So they don't.
Good God.
They don't care who they piss off as long as they don't. You don't fuck with their nut.
Well, they're also like at war with the governor of Florida right now. Like,
yeah, and they're the good guy.
Yeah, they're good guys. The enemy of my enemy.
Yeah. Oh, it reminds me of that scene at the end of Thor Ragnarok, like when Hela's destroying Thor, and she's like, "You can't defeat me," and Thor's like, "Oh, I know, but he can." And then Surtur pops out. Like Disney is Surtur. It's like all we need is you to destroy DeSantis, and then we'll deal with you. But right now, kill
Sounds
kill
like a
kill our collective enemy.
sounds like a meme waiting to happen.
Oh, yeah, just I don't know. I'm glad it didn't happen, but it is amazing it escaped
Yeah.
the boardroom.
So they failed though, and then Coco
Yes.
continued into production.
Yeah, and they still made a shit ton of money off Coco. It's not like they lost money off this movie. Like they just would have, yeah, they would have made more off of mugs and posters and shit.
They would have made more.
Uh,
Right.
Coco became the first 9-figure budget movie to feature an all Latino cast, which is fantastic. There should be more.
Right
Um, the film is an enormous hit, grossing 814 million on a budget of 175 million. It was nominated for 2 Oscars, both of which it won: Best Animated Film and Best Original Song for Remember Me. And yeah, Pixar used to make between 700 to $1 billion a flick, and it's been a long time since they've had that kind of success.
So they made like 700 billion on this one.
Yeah, 700 million profit.
Million, yeah. Million.
Yeah, 700 billion. That would be quite an achievement.
Everyone in the world
saw this like 150
saw this
times.
movie. Just couldn't stop going to the theaters.
This
I
had
had to see it again.
a 15-year theater run, unprecedented. But yeah, it was a big success. Animated film Oscar. It didn't really have any competition. And then Remember Me is a beautiful song.
Who are the I sincerely doubt I know what the song categories were. What were the animated film? What were the other nominations for animated film?
I am looking them up right now. Okay, animated film was. Where are you? Okay. Okay. The Boss Baby.
Boss Baby. Wow.
Yeah. The Breadwinner. Ferdinand and Loving Vincent.
Yeah, I don't know what any of that is.
I know Loving
Boss
Vincent.
Baby.
Boss Baby looked ridiculous, and I was embarrassed when it got an Oscar nomination. Loving Vincent was like a Vincent van Gogh biopic that was animated in the style of Vincent van Gogh's paintings, which looked very intriguing. It took years to make. Original song, we had Mighty River from Mudbound, Mystery of Love from Call Me By Your Name, Stand Up for Something from Marshall, and This Is Me from The Greatest Showman.
I don't know any of those.
This Is Me was probably the one that at the time of that Oscars, I had not yet seen Coco, so I didn't understand, this movie's power. I was rooting for the Greatest Showman song because I liked that movie. But now that I have seen Coco, this is the winner. This deserved it.
Yeah, remember me is the way they reveal Remember Me, like the way we see it in a couple different versions, and like the first one is this big like bravado, like, and I'm not crazy about that version. I mean, I think we see the ultimate version of Remember Me at the end of the film, and that's my favorite version of the song.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Then we'll get into that later, I'm sure. But
the first one, Ernesto's version, reminds me of like an Elvis cover.
Of like an original artist. Yeah.
Like you may be saying the words, but you don't know what they mean. Coco has an IMDb score of 8.4, Rotten Tomatoes score of 97%. Critics' consensus reads, Coco's rich visual pleasures are matched by a thoughtful narrative that takes a family-friendly and deeply affecting approach to questions of culture, family, life, and death. It's streaming on Disney Plus, which is where it will be forever. But I like that. Yeah, this is, it's a good way to approach death for, if you have to explain that to young kids, this is a good way to kind of say, as long as we remember them, we'll never forget them. And I like that idea.
Yeah, there's also the concept that they still like exist in one form or another. But then there is like what Hector refers to as the final death. That when you are forgotten, yeah, then you will fade away. So it's just kind of like, all right, kids, remember your families, but then like, I mean, what makes me think about there, there's that great scene where uh, they go to try to find the guitar from I can't remember his name, but it's like the Edward James Olmos character, and he's in the process of fading away because he's been forgotten.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, just like how many people over the course of time have been forgotten. Then I'm also like, is there only Mexican people? Is this one? Are there other? I start like questioning the lore, like, and I try to just stop myself. The whole movie is like, how is this set up? Like, is there a place for like every nation, like or like every culture, or is this the only one? I don't know. My mind starts to spiral at
Yeah.
that, but then I'm just like, you know what? This movie's beautiful. It looks beautiful. Like, I'm just gonna
It,
not
re-
think about that.
it reminded me a bit of like the afterlife rules of Beetlejuice, and like the idea that like if you die, like you might have to be a customs agent is really shitty.
Yeah, yeah. That and then so that kind of that like that death is bureaucratic, and has like all these like offices. I mean, that's been like done to death. I mean, I think Beetlejuice, yeah, is probably the earliest I ever came across that concept. I don't know when that concept first like I don't
I'm
know what
sure
story or
I'm sure it's been touched on before Beetlejuice. I maybe in the Twilight Zone or something, but I don't know. I haven't looked into that. But
yeah, this movie does it really well though.
mhm.
That just that death is bureaucratic. Like there's all these like checks and like there's customs. You got to go through customs and like declare like, okay, what are you bringing back?
when I
Um,
when I die, if there's any paperwork, I'm not fucking filling it out. What are they going to do? Send me back?
well, we don't really know what happens to newly dead people. They never really show us that, do they?
Well, I imagine there's quite a lot of like existential crisis happening, and I don't think we want to see that.
I don't know. I want to see it.
A lot of
Coco
not a kids
too.
movie like Coco, just like people having like a complete mental like breakdown and absolute shock because they're finding out they're dead and they have to do paperwork.
Oh, there's
Oh,
like crisis counselors on scene, ready to like accept them. So like uh,
Beetlejuice, really? Yeah, it all comes back
so
to
yeah,
Beetlejuice.
maybe yes, maybe Beetlejuice is like the story of the newly dead, and then they get processed into kind of this more like Elysium like land of the dead, where like it's just hanging out, having a good time. Unless you get forgotten, then you got to live in the fucking shanty town, But
Or
they
you're not,
seem
or you're
they
not
seem
cool enough to
happy
get an
too.
invite to the big party. Just gotta also kind of suck.
What? You
Like
cut out a little bit there.
you're dead, but you
You're
like you
cutting
don't
out a
get
little
an
bit there. What was that?
you're dead, but you don't get an invite to the big party. Like, well, shit. Even
Oh,
I'm
to
dead, I'm not
to the
cool.
De La. Yeah, yeah. You can't go to the De La Cruz. What does he call it? The
I
big
Sunrise Spectacular.
sunrise spectacular. Yeah, but I mean, even yeah, when they go to the Forgotten Town or whatever, like they're all calling him Theo, and you know, uh, they're family. Like all the forgotten people, they're now family to each other. So I don't know. Land of the Dead seems like a pretty good place to be. I think
Yeah, I hope so. And
seems like a
clearly,
nice
there's like
nice place.
the good and the bad people go to one place because like Ernesto killed his partner and he gets to have this cushy afterlife. So I don't think there's a hell here.
But they also like they turn on him, so he gets crushed by a bell again.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of the last we see him. He's not dead, but like he gets crushed by. He was already dead, but he's not like final dead.
Well, it's
But
implied
then
that
at
like in the real world, everyone knew what he did and just like took his picture off their ofrenda and like he's going to be forgotten.
so yeah, they do. You see at one point like it says forget him under
Yeah.
his picture. But that's another thing of the concept or the like the just the rules. Um, do you have to be on an ofrenda? The way you walk through the line and they take a picture of you, and then it's like, like in the beginning, Hector like tries to go through and he gets denied because he's not on an ofrenda. But at the end, he is, so he gets to go through. But it's like, so you have to be on an ofrenda or be forgotten.
Well,
I
the
don't
way it
know. No
works.
one will. No one will ever forget Ernesto de la Cruz because of, like, he will live in infamy. Being that guy that stole. He's a thief. It's like serial killers never get forgotten. Like, I
That's
mean,
true.
this movie's not concerned with
Yeah.
serial killers and war criminals, but like,
Well, I think that like the whole point is that like in order to be remembered in this way, you have to be remembered by your like by your family, by someone who loves you, by someone who wants to see you. Like so, that's where it is. Like no one's gonna want to see Ernesto. His picture is not gonna be on anybody's ofrenda. That's where the
yeah,
remembrance thing comes from.
right, yeah, because Frida Kahlo, or well, Hector pretending to be Frida Kahlo, uh, says like, "Oh, I'm on so many ofrendas, like it probably doesn't. I probably don't even need to come through." But that's one thing. There's a lot of like Mexican celebrity cameos in this movie, but not like current day. Like they're all people who have passed away, right? Like,
Yeah, public domain figures. All right, so let's give Coco some awards here. Uh, we have the Quentin Tarantino Award for the best line, the Thomas Newman Award for the best music moment. Definitely some options here. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for best performance, and the John Carpenter Award for the best scene. So take us away with the best line.
oh, let me start.
Yeah.
Well, my line is not simple. There wasn't a lot of lines that I really clung to in this movie. There's a lot of great humor, but this really isn't a movie that I laughed at a lot. But one of my favorite quick little things, like blink and you miss it kind of things, is after this, at the end of the movie, they, well, not the end, but it's kind of the penultimate thing, the big shebang climax sequence, and it's like this Allred, I think is how you say it, is who are these like magical creatures that are
Mhm.
uh based on this like traditional Mexican art that he picks up the guy, the villain, and he flies him away. This huge fucking thing happens, right? Like, this guy admits to murdering his best friend, and like it's the juiciest, most dramatic fucking thing that could have happened. And then like everyone's cheering as the bell crushes Ernesto de that our villain is vanquished, that the day has been saved. And then this guy fucking sits down next to his wife, and he's like, "What did I miss?" And it's just like, why did they even put that in the movie? But it's just like a great, quick little line. It's just this guy. He's got, I don't know what you call this. It's kind of this like, um, it's like this corn on a stick. That's what elote, I think is what it's called. My girlfriend just told me what this called.
Oh,
I think that's what he's got with him.
yeah.
But he sits down. Just what did I miss? Like that's it. Like it's just this quick little thing. I don't know how it made it into the movie. Uh,
Yeah.
Probably because you know it's fucking funny, I guess. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's my Quentin Tarantino award. There wasn't a lot. I don't think this movie's like quotable as fuck or anything. Like
No.
that's just
Um,
me. But
I agree. So not too long ago, probably like a year ago now, Austin and I did this on the old show, Oscar Sunday, where I gave awards to this film. And my awards really, I don't think have changed much. So if I'm repeating myself to people who have listened to that episode, I apologize. Um, my Tarantino award goes to Ernesto de la Cruz, there's a lot about like, fate and destiny and like who you're supposed to be and all that. And I like that stuff to an extent. So I went with him saying one cannot deny who one is meant to be. Because you can kind of take that either way. You can take that as a positive. You can take it as a negative. Like, was Ernesto, destined to be this, this thief, this murderer who, stole somebody's entire life, and is Miguel destined to, is there really a curse on his family? Like, and it's really all about, you got to decide who you want to be and the like what lessons you're going to take into your life. And Pixar is always good at kind of hammering that thing home in pretty much every one of their films.
Yeah, no doubt. Does he not? He does not say that. He says that line in one of his films, right?
Yeah, he's
And
he's quoting
then he
himself
also says it like in a menacing way. He says it towards the end, right? Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because
He's a real bastard, man. Like,
when you get away with murder, maybe don't make a movie about how you got away with murder.
I was thinking that too. I was like, why would anyone put that in there? But like, I think if we really got deeper into Ernesto's character, like it's like one of the things, like knowing what was about to happen this time around, because this is a great second watch movie where there's a big twist, right?
Yeah.
But we find out that that uh this person that Miguel thinks is his family is not. He's actually a fucking piece of shit. And then he finds out that this other guy is his true family, and like that's one of the big heartwarming moments. And like um what was I talking about?
I I don't know. You hadn't gotten to the point yet.
Oh yeah, I forgot what the point was.
Oh, it happens.
Yeah, you can edit that out if you want. I don't know.
No, I'm keeping that. That was gold.
Yeah, what the fuck was I talking about though? Oh yes, this time around watching the way they animated um uh Ernesto's facial features, and like how like sincere he seems with everything he's saying. And he's like, when he sees Hector for the first time, and he's like, oh, like Hector. And he's like, you fucking stole everything from me. And he's just like, I didn't mean to. And he's still like, just like, he's such a conniving, like, fucking sneaky fucking bastard. Like the way they animated him, like, and Benjamin Bratt's voice acting, like, is so perfect. He just like seems like he really believes everything he's saying, like that he's really just like a good guy who, like, he's like, I was always destined for fucking greatness, like, and I had to use your songs, man. Like, yeah, it's really, really good villain.
Yeah, very good villain. Yeah, I like that. It's also just like
Yeah,
it's such
good.
a real villain. Like, he killed his best friend and stole his life. I mean, that's some very real shit. Usually Pixar, it's like, a evil grasshopper who's afraid of bugs, or like a kid who's smashing toys. Like this is real.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
But yeah, good award choice.
yeah. The Thomas Newman Award, the best music moment. This is probably going to be the most interesting one here. What'd you go with?
I went for La Llorona. Is one of the songs. It's like a traditional song. I don't know if you'd call it a folk song,
Yeah.
but sung by this the actor who plays Mama Imelda, which is Coco's mother, right? So
Yes.
I don't know if we've explained the family dynamic here, but Coco is Miguel's great grandmother. Is
Miguel's
that right? No,
great grandmother.
uh,
Great grandmother's
great
correct.
grandmother. Yeah, because Abuelita is her kid.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Who, like, just if we haven't said so far, I love that this fucking film is named Coco. I think that's so fucking poignant and beautiful that it's named after her. Like, and we're slowly revealed that, like, one of our main characters, one of our kind of heroes, is like, everything he's done so far is just to see her one more time, like to see his daughter one more time, and in Hector Rivera. But yeah, there's a moment when Miguel is running away from Mama Imelda, who is Coco's mother, who is in the land of the dead. And to stop him, she sings this part of this song, La Llorona. And she's got this actor, Alana Ubach, I think is how you say her name. Is it?
Yeah.
just has this beautiful fucking voice, and like it's this beautiful moment because like she's the reason why no one can listen to music. You know, the Riveras are famous, you know, throughout their lineage because the patriarch of the family was a walkaway shitty fucking musician who left their family and like never came back. Then like no music was ever to be performed, and it's got this kind of like footloose thing where it's like no music, music's evil, music's bad, and Mama Imelda is the reason for that. So that like I love that they play with that, and you know she's just got this beautiful fucking voice. She does it to stop Miguel, and it does. It's this dope moment. They bring the song back later when Imelda ends up on the stage at the big sunset party, sunrise. What is it? What did you say it was called?
Sunrise Spectacular.
Sunrise Spectacular. She rises up through the stage where Ernesto was supposed to be, and you know she's got a mic in front of her, so she's like, I don't know, sings this song, and it's this big like fucking cool orchestral version of the song with you know at first it's just Hector joining in on guitar, like, but yeah, I'm giving it specifically to when she sings to Miguel to stop him. That I fucking love that fucking scene, man.
That's a good shout. That song is so fucking dark if you know the lyrics.
Yeah, I don't know the lyrics, but I know who La Llorona is. So I
Yeah.
thought it was weird that like, like
It's
they're
a
singing
traditional
this
Mexican
song.
folk song about a woman who, you know, is cheated on and kills her children. It's
Yeah, it's like why I don't under whatever. It's fucking sounds great. Like
I
I,
my senior year of college, in my last Spanish class, I we had to partner up and do performances, and me and my partner did La Llorona. So I had to be the like, you know, the vaquero who's, you know, a womanizer in the village and, you know, cheating on his wife. And she had to be the sobbing wife who's drowning her kids. And it was like, it was fucked up, but we got an A. We did really well.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well,
That song.
I wonder. I was gonna like look into this a little more, but maybe there's like some significance to this actor singing that song. Maybe that's something. Because I have never. Have you ever heard of this actor before?
No, I have a lot of these, apart from like you know, the major players, I haven't heard of pretty much anybody here.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I wish I would have done
Well,
a little more research into that.
I think it's story relevant because, you know, La Llorona, like she was married to a musician who walked out on
Oh
the
yeah,
family. So I
okay,
think
yeah.
that's the relevance.
I didn't even think of that angle. But yeah, no, good point.
Uh,
But yeah,
nothing,
all right. What's your award then?
nothing's ever beating the final version of Remember Me, where Miguel triggers Coco's memory of her father. That is
Yeah,
one of the
yeah,
most
yeah. I feel
beautiful
you.
sequences ever put to film, animated or otherwise. That scene never fails to make me sob like a baby. It is so beautiful, so poignant and magical and just real. It's yeah, not a dry eye in the house.
Yeah. That's the scene. There's another scene that kind of gets me when they're in the cave and they realize that they're related to each other. That I tear up a little bit. But yeah, this one's just like fucking destroys me, man. Like, uh, I think there's such like a healing power to music, and like I don't think that like this is like a you could do this to anyone who has like who would Coco maybe has some sort of dementia related illness. I don't know. She can't remember anything, or you know, she's nearing the end of her life. But that song does wake her up. You know, I've seen both of my grandmas go through um uh Alzheimer's and like seen things trigger their memories. You know, like uh yeah, the like just yeah, I don't know. I don't really have the words to put into like. I think you put it right. What you've said already, but yeah, it's a beautiful fucking scene.
Definitely, you know, a lot of people. It hit home for a lot of people for sure. Um, Next up, we have the Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for Best Performance. Vocal performances are always interesting to kind of, you know, how we kind of see them as separate from standard performances sometimes. Pixar usually assembles a pretty decent voice cast for their work. Who do you think won the movie?
Anthony Gonzalez. No, like, well, this is a guy that plays Miguel. Um, I, I definitely factored in the vocal performances like into this. Like he has such a fucking beautiful voice. Like when he finally makes it into the party by hiding in a fucking a tuba. Um and he's standing up on this kind of banister above the party and just lets out this long note like and then sings this song, The World Es Mi Familia, which is like it is in sync with the song that Ernesto's playing on a screen nearby. Yeah, I mean, this kid knocks it out of the fucking park. Like voice acting's fucking brilliant. Like I hope he's got more shit going on because he's fucking talented. Motherfucker can sing. Oh my god, man. Yeah, it's got to be Anthony Gonzalez for me.
Nice. Yeah, not going to argue that. This kid does a great job. He's our anchor. He does a, fantastic job playing, you know, optimistic and, depressed and just happy and excited and all the great range on this kid. Really sells him as a great performance, great protagonist. But mine is the same as it was when I did this with Austin. It's Guy Garcia Bernal as Hector. I just love this character. This down on his luck, forgotten by everybody because of his bad decision making, kind of grifter who is revealed over the course of the film to be a really like a good dude who was gonna do the right thing and didn't get the chance. And I love his evolution. I think the vocal performance is great, and Bernal really sells him as a sad sack you can root for. And
Yeah,
I love those kinds of characters that at the bottom of their rung kind of guys who like still have enough left in the tank to do one last right thing. I love that kind of character, and he did a great job.
hell yeah, no doubt. I think if it was best character award, I think it would have to for me would have to go to Hector. But that was the thing that pushed me over because I wrote him down first, and then the thing that pushed me over the edge was Anthony Gonzalez's vocal performances. Bernal's not bad either though. Like I'm not saying his didn't. I mean like he's got a great voice too, but I think when we imagine their partnership, right? Like Ernesto is the voice, the bravado, the handsome, the handsome front man, and fucking Hector is the genius. He's the fucking he writes the songs. Like maybe he doesn't really have a lot of flashy vocal performances in this movie. Like he's kind of like done with it, right? Like he says he says like I wrote some of them down. What he says he's like when he's getting made fun of by those guys, they're all calling him chorizo because he supposedly choked on chorizo or got food poisoning or like that's like the story we've told of his death. But he's like, this is why I don't like musicians. They're a bunch of self-important jerks. Later on, he says to Miguel, he's like, why would you want to be a musician? Like, you'd be like spend your life performing like a monkey for complete strangers. Later on, he's talking to Miguel about what song you're gonna do for the talent show, and he's like, "Oh, I'll probably do Remember Me," and he's like, "Oh, don't do that song. Like everybody's doing that fucking song. Anything but that song." Like, and it's because he wrote it, and he's like, "I fucking hate that song because of what it's tied to." Like
Yeah.
so much pain for him. Like, uh, yeah, the that's another thing on the rewatch that I watch so much is like, do they ever do a little foreshadowing that they're related? But yeah, really, he just talks shit about musicians a lot. The only vocal performance that I necessarily remember is when he's hanging out with Edward James Olmos, the guy that's like dying or whatever. which is a great fucking scene, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you've also got the flashback where he sings "Remember Me" to his,
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
and the biggest bit of foreshadowing is obviously Hector's gold tooth and the guitar.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Solid. That's a dope fucking guitar, by the way. Like,
yeah, I'm sure
and just
people
to
have like,
say,
I'm sure they somebody's out there has built that guitar.
no question, no question
Yeah,
that a
that
guitar
is
exists.
cool. All right, last one we got is the John Carpenter Award, the best scene. What do you got?
Okay, so my John Carpenter is the Remember Me scene.
Oh, okay.
Because like that's obviously the winner. Like that's like the best song of this movie. But my favorite like musical moment is the La Llorona when like we hear Imelda sing for the first time. But like this is the scene. Remember Me is the scene for me. Like we kind of already went into it, but I will something I wanted to make sure I was going to say that's a little it's not terribly off topic, but not really on the awards is how much work the animators put into uh to animating guitar playing in this movie. It's like from the first scene, like when Miguel is playing his like beat up fucking shit guitar, it's got like nails for frets and like the both the fretting and the picking and strumming patterns, like it's like looks perfect. Uh this scene's
Wow.
no different. And Remember Me, like yeah, we don't need to go into more about that scene, but yeah, that's the best scene in the movie for me.
That's cool because I've read on multiple occasions that like musicians hate animated music playing because it's like nobody it's just fingers on keys and strings, like no one's actually trying to make a coherent animation of that. So the fact that they actually went and did that, that's awesome.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know.
What do you think about like I mean a movie like take like Aristocats has like a very prominent scene where people are playing music. The I'm talking about the probably the best scene in the movie. That everybody wants to be a cat. Like well if you can if you watch that, I mean yeah, it doesn't there it's just like a cat like hammering his paw onto a fucking upright bass. Like, it doesn't look like anything and yeah, most of the time they're not going to do that. I can't really think of like a like big budget animated movie where they're playing music constantly throughout it that doesn't do that. I can't really think of like it's a lot of 2D animation that I can think of and like or there's an episode of like the Jimmy Neutron series where they're in a band and it's like the most garbage animation like they're just like strumming like but that's Jimmy Neutron. Like they're not putting a lot of work in every episode. Like I can't really think of maybe you can think of a big budget animated like 3D animated film where they're playing music a lot.
I
I can't
guess
think of one.
I guess Soul.
Soul, I don't like I don't play piano, so
Okay.
I bet you that movie's got like jazz musicians working on it. Like I bet you they put work into making it look real. At
Probably.
least the piano playing. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I have to do some research on that. Um, but yeah, I'm glad you shouted that out. Uh, my John Carpenter award is something you brought up earlier. It's the scene in the cave where Miguel and Hector realize they're related.
Hell yeah.
It's
That was
it's
that's what I do. That's what I wrote first, man. that
it's great. It's such a
was
great
good.
moment.
It is. It is.
It's like yeah, it's played out so well. I mean, when I first I admitted like it's kind of obvious on like the second or third watch, but the first time I saw it, I didn't see it coming. I
I can't remember if I did or not. I don't think I did though.
I remember being like shocked and like heartwarmingly shocked, where I'm like, oh, they're family, and like then I started to get a little teary eyed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and there's a specific shot in that scene that made this like before I watched the last scene, I wrote cave scene on there, and it's a specific shot that like uh, it's like zoomed out shot of the entire kind of expanse of the cave, and it's right after they both just kind of like proclaimed how happy they are that they're family, and like this kind of echo fades, and it's this two very small figures just standing on this rock in this fucking cave, and that's what like clinched that scene for me. I was like, what a beautiful shot! It just looks like concept art for like what it evoked, like me looking at concept art of like a video game I really wanted to play when I was a kid or something. Like it had that like kind of energy that it's just a shot that just like fills you with wonder. It's a very simple shot. It's just two small figures, like, and it's just like, damn, like this movie's so many things, but it's also a story of this guy walking through this land of like skeleton people by his like skeleton guide. Like, what a cool movie I'm getting to watch right now.
Yeah. For any Aladdin fans out there, it's a cave of wonders, if you will.
Okay.
I do love when you get to have those thoughts of like, this is so great. Like this movie's so amazing, and I'm glad I get to watch it. Like those are the best thoughts to have.
Hell yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, that was fun. Good awards, good picks there. Let's close out by checking out Letterboxd and find out what other people have to say about this movie on our next segment, What's in the Box?
What's in the fucking box? Give me the gun.
Coco's rocking a 4.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd. For me, it's a straight up 5 out of 5. It's awesome. I have 3 for you here. One that is like insanely negative, where I'm like, I hope this guy got a hug. But the other 2 are pretty good. I found out you can reorder the reviews like by least positive. So I can just see all the half stars and people who are just like sour, empty, mean-spirited people. Because there's certain movies where I'm like, how do you not feel something?
I can't imagine somebody watching this and well, okay, like yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear this negative one.
I'm gonna do. I think they call it in business a compliment sandwich, where I'm gonna do the good one, the bad one, and end with another good one. So here's our first one from James (parentheses Schifferless). Kind of flawed in the story department in a lot of ways, but I honestly don't care. This is a beautiful love letter to Mexican culture and a great musical to boot. The characters are super endearing, and the complex interwoven backstory holds up so well on repeat viewings. It also has the best ending of any Pixar film, period. 4 stars. Yeah. Best ending of any Pixar film. Yeah, probably off the top of my head. I don't know, maybe Toy Story 3 comes to mind as like
Toy Story 3, yeah. That's
yeah.
I'd throw Monsters Inc. into the like the I haven't thought about this scene in a really long time, but I'm like feel like I'm about to tear up thinking about it. The shot of like Mike's hands with all the tape on it, and like he opens the door and you just hear boo. Like that's a good like final scene, you know, like because when we talk about the ending of this movie, the final scene is like, okay, yeah, they're all happy, fuck off, you know. But when we talk about like the ending, it's like, you know, him singing the song to Coco.
Yeah.
You said Toy Story 3, yeah, that's a full circle ending. That's like I aged with this series, and now I'm ready to say goodbye. Which I fucking hate Toy Story 4 for ruining. But let's not get into that.
I cry every time Bonnie holds Woody's arm to wave goodbye to Andy.
Oh, fuck off.
Oh, dude. But that's another podcast at another time.
Yeah. Fuck Toy Story 4. I'm just gonna say that again.
Bet you can't wait for Toy Story 5, which they did confirm is happening.
Oh, Christ above.
Yep. You don't stop you don't stop pulling on the cash teats until they run dry. That's how Hollywood works.
So we're all I guess so.
Until that cow keels over from exhaustion, they're gonna keep pulling.
Another one, huh?
Yep. Well, Toy Story 5, Inside Out 2 got greenlit at the same time.
Okay, Inside Out 2, I'm not, you know, they're on one sequel, you know, whatever. We don't need another Toy Story. We didn't need the other one. I don't know. But no, this review you just read makes me think of early on, and when we started recording, just like when I think too much about the concepts, like, and the rules, is like it does kind of start to fall apart. I don't know if I put that in like the story area. I actually think the story is pretty fucking airtight. I don't know what this guy's talking about, or this person, or whatever.
Well, I
But,
think that, like, if you dig into any film at a certain level, the rules and the mystery and whatever are gonna unravel. It's like it's all my favorite movie of all time, Back to the Future. If you analyze that film hard enough, you're gonna find hundreds of plot holes, and it's gonna ruin the movie for you. So, I'm some movies it's like harder to not do that than others, but most of the time I just try to just not do that as much as I want to.
well, it's also like there's a difference between you look at like Harry Potter versus like Star Wars. Star Wars, you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want because it's like the galaxy's huge, and like, you could effectively have like Clark Kent, Kal-El, Superman in Star Wars, and just say, oh, he's from a planet where they have laser vision, and he uses the Force to be super strong and fly. Like, fuck you. Like, there's Superman in Star Wars. Like, the rules are just so like, there's no rules really. Like, it's just, you can kind of just do whatever you want. Sometimes they do put rules into effect, but like, then there's the Force. It can break those rules. But like Harry Potter has more set rules where you put more pressure onto them, like, and like you can kind of see it coming apart at the seams. But that's because it's like such a zoomed in thing that like Star Wars is like this massive universe, where like anything can happen. And Harry Potter's like, it's got to make sense with like everything else, which is like more of a issue for writing like a Harry Potter story than it would be for Star Wars. Lord of the Rings, I think, be it another example of like, Lord of the Rings would be an example of someone who painstakingly like made sure there's answers for things when you said like, what about this?
Yeah.
But that's different than like plot holes. Plot holes would be like, all right, why didn't the fucking eagles just fly the hobbits to which Tolkien answered, shut up, like was effectually his answer when people would ask him that. There's a recording of Tolkien saying that, like, I'm approached by people in the pub and they ask me why the eagles, to which I say to them, shut up. You gotta try to Google that sometimes. That's a great little
I will.
Great little soundbite.
I was just assumed it was like, the mission's supposed to be covert. If you've got a swarm of eagles flying into Mordor, Sauron's going to see that shit, and he's going to send his Nazgul to stop that shit. It's supposed to be covert. That's why I always assumed there were no eagles.
Well, I mean, even if you talk about they can't drop them right off in Mordor, like, could they have dropped them like somewhat nearby? Could they have taken them to like Minas Tirith? Whatever. We don't need to get into the Eagles argument at all right now. But
yeah,
I don't know. Is there any glaring story holes or plot holes in this movie for you in Coco?
not really. I mean, it establishes what we need to know to enjoy the movie, and just rolls with that. I'm never bothered by many of that in here.
Yeah, I feel like it's more just the structure of the world that has some holes for me, but like, it's not a Harry Potter or a Star Wars. It's this one film, and that's what it is, right? Like,
yeah,
I think in a kind of storytelling, like, if someone was to make Coco the series, like, they might have some trouble like dealing with the rules that the film set, because they do start to make a little less sense when you think about them too much. But like, who gives a shit? It didn't bother me in this movie. It bothers me in a lot of movies, but it didn't bother me in this one.
Well, something like sure as hell bothered this guy. Sean_Davy. This is a 0.5 star review. This movie made me want to hang myself just so I couldn't be on the same planet as it. Whew.
That's it?
That's it. Who hurt you, dude? God.
Who hurt you?
Those a lot of it, I saw. I recently did an episode. I recorded an episode. I can't say what it is because it's part of a future project, but it had one of my favorite, maybe my favorite of all time, half-star reviews, and it was simply, didn't see it, half a star. Like, well, then fuck off. Why are you here?
reviewing it? Yeah, this makes me think that, like, I would be curious to read an actual review with, like, substance that, like, would tear this movie apart. But, like, yeah, I mean, this person clearly just thought it sucked. I don't know.
Yeah, there's not a lot of substantial reviews with half a star, for films like this.
Yeah, but per the rules of this film, if this guy hanged himself, he would not be on a different planet. He would be in the afterlife. So
I know we keep bringing up Beetlejuice, but the rules in that movie are suicides end up like as like civil servants, like they have to work for the afterlife. So like this guy would end up like in the customs office.
He'd be working the DMV of the afterlife.
Oh my god! Can you?
All the custom agents, in Coco seem like they are loving life. They seem really happy. Like nobody's really like miserable in the afterlife in Coco, except for God. Did you write his name down? Do you know what his name is? The Edward James Olmos character.
I'm pretty sure it's Julio, but let me confirm that.
I think Julio is the uncle that you said Luis Valdez plays.
Yeah, you're right. It's Chicharron.
Chicharron, yeah, okay, right. Yeah. He's kind of the only sad person in all of the afterlife.
Well, he's the only, him and Hector are the only people we see who have like been completely abandoned and forgotten and have nothing left. So yeah,
well, those other people who are like, hey, Hector, like when he's walking through the shanty town and then he like pours tequila shots for all those three ladies. They seem like they're having a good time. They've been forgotten. They're just like hanging out with the girls and drinking some liquor.
Well, they might not be as forgotten. Like these, Chicharron is literally in the process of fading, and Hector's on the verge of fading. Yeah,
good point.
So they might not be.
We don't know. We don't know how long they've been there, or maybe it's the kind of life they live. They were just like fuck everybody,
Yeah, that too.
Who knows?
I guess when you're a nihilist, the final death is like just another road we got to take.
Yeah.
And this last one is from Matt Singer. A story about death, murder, loss, grief, aging, dementia, living skeletons, and deadbeat dads. A kid's movie. 4 stars.
Right on.
And that's Coco. Beautiful fucking movie. I'm so glad we were able to do it here. It was not my number 7 on my top 10. It might deserve to be higher. It's just such a touching film.
No arguments here.
Yeah. Anything you wanna say about Coco before we sign off here?
No, I guess.
Okay.
No. It's a good movie. I'll say this real quick. This is maybe my favorite. When Disney does a themed opening.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like for the opening credits.
The Wish Upon a Star melody. This might be my favorite one. Shit fucking rules. Right at the beginning of the movie, it's already like, okay, hell yeah, it's gonna be a dope movie for music. Yeah,
that was killer. That was
nice. I guess that's it.
Sweet. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. If you like what we do, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Filmgazm Productions. If you want to suggest films for us to check out, you can email us at filmgazm@gmail.com, or of course send us a message through the socials. You can check out our Letterboxd accounts for daily reviews. You can search for me at Connor95, and in my friends list you can find the rest of the team. Check out our website, filmgazm.com, where I have a link to that Letterboxd. You can also find articles, trailers of upcoming films in every episode of our show. If you'd like to become a monthly donor to Filmgazm Productions, feel free to click on the link in the episode description. From there, click on Support This Podcast. You can choose to donate $1 a month, $5 a month, or $10 a month, and all donations go right back into the show. We appreciate it. Thanks to the entire Filmgazm team for their contributions. Thanks to Cooley Cal for our awesome theme music, and thanks to you for checking this out. Our countdown continues next week with Austin's number 7, the 2011 animated Western adventure Rango. which I'll be sitting that one out due to moving obligations, but it's already been filmed, and I'm looking forward to listening to it. Austin and Adam had a blast doing Rango. Really fun movie. And that about wraps it up. Remember to always remember where you came from and to never ignore your destiny, whatever it may be. Take it easy, keep watching movies, and we'll see you next time.